The board just returned from a closed session and no action was taken. At this time, I will call the meeting to order at 7:10 or 7:09. 7:09. Roll call. Mr. Bell, are you here?
Yes, present.
And Mrs. Carroll?
Yes.
And Dr. Finley?
Present.
And Mrs. Koo?
Here.
And myself here, and Ariana?
Here.
Thank you. Dr. Emerson?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick announcement for the community members in attendance, and then also that will be viewing online. Due to technical difficulties tonight, we will not be live streaming the board meeting. We will be recording the meeting and making it available on our YouTube channel where the other meeting videos are housed as soon as possible. So just wanted to make sure that folks know that. Thank you, Madam President.
And Dr. Emerson, would you please continue with our flag salute, our beliefs, our vision and mission, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Please rise. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silent reflection. Thank you. I'll continue with our beliefs. Our beliefs. We believe we are a community of learners. We believe learning occurs in a culture of caring and respect. We believe all students are motivated to learn when they are engaged in meaningful work that connects to their lives. We believe expectations do influence performance and outcomes. We believe learning increases when there are high expectations for performance and conduct. We believe we have a responsibility to find solutions that enable all students to learn. Our vision, 21st century schools producing 21st century students. And our mission, provide the knowledge, skills, and inspiration for each student for success in college, career, and life. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Emerson. We move to item 7, adoption to the agenda. So I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move to approve.
Moved by Mr. Bell.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Carroll. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. At the item number A, report from student board member, Ariana.
All right.
Welcome back.
So for the month of January, our Falcons came back strong, focusing on the new year. And we are focusing on the seniors specifically as they finish up their last college applications. And we are congratulating them for all of the applications that they already turned in. Our college counselor has been doing an amazing job holding workshops and application workshops for applying for FAFSA, applying for any colleges that they need if they don't understand something. It's been very helpful. I know I personally have been using that resource. So something a little more exciting is our seniors are excited for prom, which will be held at a beautiful venue in Glendale in April. And we just began selling tickets, and tomorrow we are revealing our theme. As we begin the new year, the yearbook is in process, and we are beginning to take pictures around the campus to show all of the beautiful events that we've been having and making sure that everyone is recognized. Some final things that we had that were fun and amazing this month, we began our CSF club as well as our Model UN club. And for all of our amazing Falcons, ASB hosted an In-N-Out truck. We had an amazing turnout and everything was very delicious. There are so many new things coming to campus and in store for our Falcons for the last few months of our semester.
Thank you, Ariana. Before we move to presentations, I'd like to remind the public to remember that if you want to address, if you like to address the board, please fill in the yellow cards Si quieren alguien hablar con el board, por favor llene la tarjeta amarilla que está ahí con su nombre para poder hablarnos. Y tenemos a Leonor, que nos está haciendo el favor de traducir la reunión. Gracias. Okay, Dr. Emerson, presentations.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, board, we will be conducting a presentation on the standardized dress code uniform requirements. There's been extensive conversations and extensive work that's been done on this since the board took action during the course of the pandemic to suspend the uniform policy. So at this time, I'd ask Dr. Nadia Hillman to come forward and present this information. Dr. Hillman.
Thank you. Good evening, board. Dr. Emerson, community. Thank you. I just wanted to start by making sure I know how to click the. Marcel, am I going here? Move forward. This one? You'll take it? Okay. Sorry for the delay. So I'll go to the next slide. So as you recall, a couple years ago now, we started with our pandemic in March of 2020. And at that time, as you remember, we went into distance learning. And when we rolled into 2020-21 school year and returned to distance learning in that fall, the question came forward about our students and the requirement that we have for our students to wear uniforms, the students who are in TK through 5th grade. This has been a tradition that's been going on, that our schools have had for quite some time now. The community has students have always worn those uniforms. And the question came forward and the board made a decision at that time that we would waive the requirement in 2020-21 to have students and have parents purchase those uniforms, because really we weren't sure when we would have students back on campus. They were, for the most part, distance learning for predominant part of most of the year, which we didn't know at that time. And the board made that decision to waive that requirement at that time. So as you remember, 2020-21 came and we finally had students come back to school late in the school year. And then coming into this school year, the question came forward, well, what are we going to do about uniforms? And we didn't really have at that time a full opportunity to really dig into making a complete decision, a permanent decision about requiring students to wear those uniforms. Remember, these are just the TK students who typically would wear these uniforms. So we waived that decision. The board waived that decision. We recommended for the board to take that decision so that we could get into a further, more comprehensive approach to really thinking about the whole uniform topic. Do you want to go to the next slide, please? So we went out and we sought information through using our Thought Exchange platform. The Thought Exchange platform is a way that we can reach families, not just to get the decision of yes, we want students to wear uniforms, or no, we don't want uniforms, but really to understand the community's feelings, their thoughts behind uniforms in general. And knowing that the uniforms were put in place many years ago for specific reasons in the community, there was a desire for students to be wearing those uniforms at that time. We wanted to know what's the reasoning now and what's the thinking about the community, amongst the community. So we sought out through the Thought Exchange platform, and this was provided for students, for parents, and staff. And I do have the breakdown of how many of each, but total we have 630 participants, which is quite a bit of thoughts and opinions about this topic, with 620 thoughts and over 10,000 ratings. As you know, the Thought Exchange platform, people can put in their ideas, their thoughts, and other people can see what other people are thinking and sort of rate their opinions, those opinions based on their level of agreement with that. And the question we asked was, what are the most important things we should consider as we evaluate whether to require school uniforms next year? So this is what we found out. Marcel, can you go to the next slide? So the top themes really came out from the really top. The concern was there was a significant additional cost for families. Most of our thoughts, actually, number one out of 572 was about their financial burden it puts on families, many of whom would have to buy 2 sets of clothing. Their children would have clothing that they would wear on the weekends or after school, but then they'd have to buy uniforms as well. Another strong theme that came through was student happiness, and their student wanted to express the ability for students to express themselves and be comfortable and feeling good about themselves in a uniform. And that came out loud and clear as a very strong theme as well. And then the extra expense, like I talked about before, it came up over and over again. The concern was about the expense and the burden on the families to have to buy specific set of clothing. Sometimes they're not on sale. So many times they come available very early before the school year starts, and you have to get them while they're on sale at Target or wherever you're going to buy them. So that always is kind of a concern for our families, particularly, especially if they're not shopping in areas that maybe they don't have access to that or don't want to buy the 2 sets of clothing. So those were some themes that came out. Another one that came out very, very strongly in thought exchange as well was they wanted a lot of advance notice. Let us know, make a decision so that we can know ahead of time if we're going to have to do this. We want our students to feel comfortable at school. We want the children to feel that they don't have to wear certain types of fabrics because some of them had maybe sensory concerns. These were all the things, and you can read them in the thought exchange. You can read every single thought. So it's very comprehensive in that approach. So to that end, we're recommending that we ask the board to consider removing the requirement for students in grades TK through 5 and at grade 6 at Valley View to wear school uniforms. The school dress code and appropriate clothing still applies. That doesn't mean we don't have a dress code. We still need appropriate clothing. We have these dress standards that are part of our annual notification as well. So those would still apply. We would not require students to buy a specific set of clothing for purchase for wearing in the elementary grades. So I think I've covered all those topics I have on that slide. I'm just making sure that we have all the topics covered that I wanted to say tonight, but really about providing ample notification so that the board can make a decision and we can let folks know whether this is going to remain for the following school year and beyond. So that concludes my presentation, but I'm ready to address any questions. And then there'll be a recommendation brought to you later in the agenda tonight.
I don't know if there's a question, but pretty much what I've observed so far, I haven't really seen, like uniforms being sold within even the year. I don't know, maybe I just haven't been focused, but the only places you can really buy them now pretty much is Target and Walmart. A lot of the clothing stores in the malls the children's stores aren't even there, a lot of them. So it's very difficult actually.
Well, there's a lot of districts aren't doing this anymore either. So I haven't done a poll of other districts necessarily, but just anecdotally, I can tell you there are many districts that don't require uniforms.
And it could be why we're not seeing as many sold anymore. But I mean, that would be my consideration too, is like how convenient is it to purchase, these uniforms? Because I feel like the only 2 big brand, stores would be like Target and Walmart. At this point,
and that came up in the comments.
Perfect.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Any other question? Okay, Mr. Bell.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Got on my
Thank
mic,
you.
I believe that being one of the board members been on for a little while, dress code was because at one time we had a problem in the community at large in regard to some of it was considered gang-related clothing. And the fact that things has really changed dramatically, families, the school, young people that you see, you don't see that. And I think it's an excellent time to make a change. Just like we made a change back then because we had a problem, we don't have that problem now. And I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to acknowledge that for our community and our parents and be able to give the kids and the young people a little different way of how they can make a self-expression on their own way and not have to be structured just like we had them back in the past. So I think it's good. I think it's a good time.
Well, and thank you, Mr. Bell, because it brings up the point is why we use thought exchange to really get at what the feeling was in the community. So it wasn't just a yes, no, it was really, what are we thinking? Is there a concern about safety? And I can tell you we're 6 months into a school year now, students aren't wearing any uniforms. We haven't had any issues related to maybe something that would have something related that could have been prevented because of uniforms.
Correct.
On the campuses.
Dr. Hillman, thank you very much for this presentation. And I think you kind of probably answered my question a little bit, but I'm definitely in favor of this recommendation. But I just wanted to know, was there any sort of quantitative data that tell us like a certain percent of the community was sort of for or against re-implementing school uniforms, or was that not something that was captured in the report?
It was captured in the report when you start going through all the themes, every single 600 comments, which I happen to read, and then they're themed. And really the number that were in the category that would be considered pro uniforms was very low in the, maybe 10 out of 600. Not necessarily pro, there were things like, we want students to look professional. We want students to look well-groomed and clean, but that's captured not necessarily in a uniform, but in how you dress and be prepared for school. We still want to make sure that our students are dressed appropriately for school. They're not wearing anything that's distracting. If there is something that would be related to, like Mr. Bell spoke to, that would be a safety issue that we heard about, especially from law enforcement, which may come up at high school necessarily, I don't know. It hasn't been the case. We would be able to make that determination, but that's not what we're talking about here in terms of the uniform.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
If there is no other comments, okay, thank you, Dr. Hillman. Okay, we now move to superintendent report.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll start my comments with a hearty welcome to 2022. This is our January school board meeting, and I just want to take a moment as I begin my remarks to give a heartfelt thank you to all of our staff and our families for their tireless work and I think just responding, nurturing and caring for all of our students and one another as we've been navigating this COVID-19 Omicron rise in cases. And I just want to take that moment just to say thank you, because I know how hard not only our staff, but also our parents have been working to really help and support their students, our school system, and our ability to continue to maintain our schools being open and keeping our schools healthy and safe. And so thank you for that. I want to spend a little bit of time talking specifically about how our district has been responding to the pandemic and to the challenges of recent date. So prior to going to prior to going to winter recess, we averaged, because we've always had testing available on our school sites throughout the school week, we averaged about 250 tests per week. But what we've seen is a huge uptick in the demand for tests. And so we've had to respond. And I think that we've done a great job responding. It started on December the 21st, when the governor's office did announce that they thought it would be best practice to have all students have the opportunity to test before returning back from winter break. And so on December the 30th, our school district conducted a testing operation at Duarte High School, where 561 students, staff, and community members were tested. On January the 3rd, personal protective equipment was restocked at all of our school sites with upgraded masks for our students and staff. The surgical respirator, KN95s and N95 masks were available. And then what we saw is that surge in testing needs and testing demands, because the testing week of January 3rd through January 7th, we went from on average before the break of having 250 tests per week to that week of January 3rd through the 7th having 945 students, staff, and community members tested at our school sites. So nearly 4 times as many tests were needed. On January the 15th, our school district gave all students 2 rapid antigen home tests to be used if there were any close contacts or if our students were experiencing any symptoms. The week of January 10th through the 13th, 858 students, staff, and community members were tested at our Duarte sites. On January the 18th, Our school district received additional personal protective equipment, surgical respirator, upgraded mask. And on January the 20th, this evening, Duarte Unified School District purchased rapid antigen tests for our staff to make sure that our staff will have the ability to also take a rapid test to ensure that they are okay. And those tests will be delivered to our staff tomorrow, Friday, January the 21st. All in all, what we've wanted to do is be extremely responsive and extremely nimble in the way that we address the challenges of the pandemic. We've stayed in constant close contact with the LA County Department of Public Health, the LA County Office of Education, to make sure that we're following the guidelines, we're following the protocols, because it is our express interest to maintain and keep our schools open so that way our students can have the ability to get a great educational experience while also having the ability to socialize with their friends and with their school community, but while also maintaining strict standards to make sure that everybody is healthy and safe. That is of the utmost importance to us. There have also been some questions or some concerns that have come from members of the community around our testing protocols and our responses. Again, we are following the protocols as laid out by the LA County Department of Public Health, as well as following the guidance that we receive directly from the LA County Office of Education. We continue to engage any community member who wants to ask questions or ask concerns about how we are responding, and we will continue to have that open line of communication to make sure that we're hearing those concerns and being able to address them appropriately. I'm going to switch topics just a little bit. I also want to talk about where the board and the superintendent and staff are with respect to the school consolidation process. And really right now, there are three distinct processes that are happening. The first is that we're working to address student placement with respect to Andres Duarte student placement for next year once the Andres Duarte program has been consolidated and closed. We're currently identifying where all of our Andres Duarte students of attendance are currently, where the current residence is, and then determining where the next school of attendance will be. That process is happening now, as well as once we determine where the students would be their next school of attendance, then that will then move us to the next process, which is where staff reallocations will happen. Because where the students go, there will also be staff that will be relocated as well. The second component are programs. There are specific programs that are housed at the school site, and so those school programs are also being analyzed and assessed in preparation for the next school year. The third piece is that the board will be moving forward and considering a recommendation by the superintendent and staff on a 7-Eleven committee that will analyze and look at the disposition of the property where Andres Duarte is currently situated. All those things are happening now. The most important thing is that the next step will be the recommendation for new attendance boundaries that will come to this board for approval. And then we will be working with families on the transition process to make sure that there's communication, that there's an explanation of what the process is, what the opportunities and the options are for families. Those are things that will be forthcoming. Additionally, we will also be working with our labor partners, our association, to work through the staffing transitions and the staffing allocations as well. All of that to say that we are moving through this process and we're going to partner with our families and with our school community to make sure that we make this process as smooth as possible. We understand that it is new information, it is fresh information. Please know that our office, the superintendent's office, as well as the superintendent staff's offices are available to take your questions, to answer your questions, and to support all of our families that may be impacted throughout this transitionary process. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us, call us, or email us. We'll be happy to assist you. And lastly, on both the topics that I spoke about tonight, our COVID-19 response, as well as the school consolidation process, it is an all hands on deck approach. My entire team and entire staff are working day in and day out to make sure that our students and staff are healthy and safe, and then also that we navigate through this transitionary process to make sure that folks know what is happening with respect to our schools as we move forward into the future. And with that, Madam President, that is the conclusion of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Emerson. At this time, we're gonna move to request to address the board, and I would like to remind the public that if you please like to address the board at this moment too, please fill in the yellow card. Quiero recordarles que por favor, si tienen alguna pregunta para esta mesa directiva, que por favor llenen la tarjeta amarilla para poder hacer las preguntas que tengan. No se vayan sin las respuestas. Okay, since there are no people anyone interested, we move forward. We now move to general functions, and that's item 12.1. Approve the minutes of the special meeting of December 8, 2021, and the organizational regular meeting on December 16, 2021. I need a motion to approve.
So move.
Moved by
Second.
Mr. Bell, second by Dr. Finley. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We now move to approve the consent calendar. The next item of business is adoption of the consent calendar. Does anyone want to remove any item for separate discussion or action? Since we have no objections, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar? So
Move to
moved.
approve this consent calendar as listed.
Moved by Mr. Bell, second by Mrs. Koo. There's no discussion. Mercedes, did I need to go just for I, not one by one? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, board. So item 12.3, second reading approval of the board policies, right? Okay, I need a motion to approve the board policies.
Move to approve board
Second by
policy
Mr.
12.3.
Bell, second by?
Second.
By Carol, by Mrs. Carol.
And Madam President, do we have can I ask a quick question of
Sure.
staff about
Yes,
this?
sir.
So this just occurred to me right now. I remember getting a text message, I don't know, maybe like a month ago, saying that there was something changing about area code dialing that was required on phones now, and they were saying that that is now required for the suicide prevention line. They specifically said that. So I was just wondering I'm assuming this is posted around our campuses and whatnot, and I was just wondering if that has been conveyed on the messaging, whether those the area code is now required, is posted somewhere or something, students are notified.
Mr. Crosby, do you have any thoughts?
Yes, Naila Othman out of Student Services is really been on top of this, and it's in all of the safety plans with all the school sites, and new posters have been made to make sure that has been emphasized too. If they made it to campus yet, I'm not quite sure, but I know that they were in the process of making so they can get there.
Perfect, thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Crosby. Any other comment or question? I know that we had that a neighbor city had few incidents about this. What do we do to prevent? What do we rule? Or who do we use to go to or direct the kids or the parents to prevent suicide?
So we have a great partnership with DeVille is one of our major partnerships, DeVille Family Youth Services. And then we call in a PET team or a MET team to help service our students. And we do with them, they get wraparound service with and make sure that they have counseling as well. to help afterwards. Because when a traumatic event or just talking about the event and going and thinking about those things, it doesn't just stop there. And so our counseling program, again, Naila Othman Student Services is really on top of our program and working with our different counseling partners. But DeVille is our largest partnership we have.
Thank you, Mr. Crosby.
I was going to say something. It's usually very easy to do too, actually. You just go to the principal of the school, and if there's an issue that you have with your child that needs counseling, they'll direct the services. They'll do the application for you, and they'll fill it in, and that's how the services are. So it's quite easy, actually.
And I'll go a step farther.
Mm.
Not only the principal, the staff.
The staff.
Teaching staff, they have a process to help get the information to DeVille. And so it's not just the office or a counselor, it could be just a staff member too. And they've all been trained to help get that information to DeVille.
So it's needed. If parents need it, it's
And
readily available.
And part of our yearly training of all of our staff is suicide prevention. And it's mandate training that our staff takes as well. So looking for those early signs or any calling out signs too, then our staff can really help support. And other students can, if they see that, their friends help support that as well. And really is telling us any staff member to help get that support for us too.
It's great. We have great resources here. So just to say we do. We do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crosby. And that's the importance to open these moments of, communication that is so people can hear about the programs that we have. I would like to ask Ariana, do you have any opinion about this? Any question, any comment?
Actually, yeah, I do. So this is just a really big thing for me. I've always been an advocate for mental health and suicide prevention and all that. I was actually going to say that, yes, the staff members are trained and they can see the signs and things like that. Something I thought about in the past, at least personally in my 8th grade year, I was a suicide prevention ambassador. And we actually went on a training for a couple of days and they taught us the signs and like that. And we were basically the ambassadors on our campus. It was during the 8th grade village that we had going on. And I think that's something that maybe we should look back into, especially for high school, especially for the freshmen, so we can, train them and then they can have it for all 4 years. Something that I thought about in the past was also teaching it kind of. I know it's not, we can't like full on teach it, but we can at least, advocate for it, talk about it more, especially in our health class, since it's something that we, as all freshmen, have to take. It's a mandatory class. So maybe it's something that we can kind of teach, definitely advocate for it, as well as, like you said, put around the posters, especially in those type of classes, so they can kind of know about it. Since they're already learning a lot about health, mental health is just as important as physical health. And I think that's something that we should emphasize. So definitely looking into making ambassadors again. I think that'd be very helpful. That helped me. Like I said, I was an ambassador and I did see some of those signs. And then as a student, because they're not always going to go to their parent, they're not going to go to their staff members. It's very rare when that happens, but they may confide in a student. So I know for my year, there was a few students that would talk to me and I had a little bit of training. So I wasn't going in, blind. So I had a couple students come up to me and just talk to me. And some of them were more extreme cases. So in that case, then I would talk to the staff member or the leader of the ambassadors, and then we get more down to it. But some of them just needed someone to talk to. And since, like I said, I had some of that training, it was really helpful for them as well as me. So.
Thank you, Ariana. I want you to make sure that at any time, please just push that microphone button and please help us. Yeah, it's really good to hear your opinion. Thank you. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We need to move into item 12.4, approval of the trustee area map to be used in the 2022 school board election and subsequent elections. I need a motion to approve a map to be used in the 2022 school board election and subsequent election. I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Mr. Bell, second.
One moment, Madam President. The motion, it needs to delineate which of the scenarios. There are 4 scenarios.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be just during the discussion.
Well,
Did I get it wrong?
if you can hold off on taking the motion and just start your discussion if you'd like. But if you make a motion, then the motion has to be, just to clarify which one.
So what do you think it will be the best way to go? As for the number, Mercedes?
Yeah, so if you want to discuss it first before a motion gets made, so that way there can be a declarative statement
Okay.
of which scenario, that would be my suggestion.
So if Mr. Bell can withdraw the motion then at this point, and then
Yes.
we will open it. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Bell. Yes. Okay, I will need to open for discussion at this point. So board members,
I mean, I just had a couple of comments. Being that I've been on for 30+ years as a school board member, this whole process was a little bit difficult for me, mainly because I really prided myself of just serving the whole community. I mean, I didn't look at any school as my school, even though my kids went to a certain school. I'd look at Maxwell and all of the schools. I mean, and so this kind of just made me feel like I was put into a little circle that made me kind of just look at that. And so, I mean, I didn't let my mind get to the place where that's what I would do, but that was the way I felt when I first read it. And, you know, they were discussing it. And I know we have to be in a certain area to be elected, but I prided myself going to all the different communities every time there was an election to make sure every community, every household that I could get my my message to, that they knew that I was interested in them, their family, their kids, and the whole thing. And so this kind of made it feel like I was just put into a little section. So for me personally, being a longtime board member, it was tough for me. But I do understand the legality of it all and all that other stuff. It's all over the state, and I understand that. But I'm just saying, for me, this has been one that's been tough, because it's almost like they forced me in a little area to kind of to orchestrate, but it won't mean I won't do what I've always done, is just to reach out to everybody in the community. But it was a little shocking when I first read about it. But I understand the legality of it, and I'm prepared to make a decision.
thank you, Mr. Bell.
Yes, Madam
Dr.
President,
Finley?
and I don't know if this would be a question for Paul or Dr. Emerson, but just if we could kind of briefly talk about, you know, the maps have been posted online for some time now. We've had several meetings about this in the past, discussions. We do have 4 maps that are viable, that sort of meet the requirements. But just if we could maybe have someone talk about why map number 4 has some qualities that make it a better choice, or a more a choice that better meets the California Voting Rights Act and Federal Voting Rights Act, that would be helpful.
Madam President? So I would ask Mr. Paul McLaughlin, one of the district's counsel, to come forward, and he can provide some information and some context. Paul, thank you.
Just give me a second, please, Paul. I just want to make sure, Leonor, that everyone understand that we are talking about those maps right there against the wall. Yes, please. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Diaz. Thank you, Dr. Emerson. So Dr. Finley, to answer your question, just basically what this process entails and where we are and how we were talking about, of the 4 map scenarios, why scenario 4 is the best option, the recommended option today. So through this process, it's been a long process. What we did is, as a result of public hearings, community input, and knowing that ultimately the board was interested in making the transition to by trustee area method of election. We had demographers after receiving public input at 2 different public hearings, put together the scenarios that are at the back of the room. We've ended up with 4. Initially, we had 3. Then after some additional public comment, we had 4. Of the 3 that were first produced, the California Voting Rights Act and the Federal Voting Rights Act, if I had to put a purpose behind it, both of those acts have really been to increase and encourage as much participation in representative government as possible. And that includes from all the members of the community. So one of the goals of both of those acts is to create by trustee area method of election, which is, we have those areas that are drawn rather than an at-large where everyone in the district votes for all 5 candidates. We're focusing in on those specific areas. And so in the first 3 scenarios that the demographers drew, one of the goals, if we can create a majority minority population of citizen voting age population. So that's where we can get 50% or more within any one of those trustee areas where potentially get minority representation on the government entity, in our case, our school board, then that is one of the stated goals of both of those acts. So that generated the first 3. And some other considerations we had in terms of some prior history with a settlement agreement was that we're talking about how you create those trustee areas and what we should be taking into consideration. And a couple of those items, there were generally 4. And so in addition to what the Voting Rights Act at the California and the federal level took into consideration, those additional 4 items were taken into consideration. And so that generated the first 3 maps. And there was some more discussion saying, hey, maybe we can look at Huntington Drive specifically and maybe do only 2 trustee areas above Huntington Drive. That suggestion would not have worked based on population variance. That was too high. But in that process, the demographers were able to create a scenario where there were 3 majority and minority districts, trustee areas, pardon me. So of the 4, staff, in working with our demographer and legal counsel and, district staff determined that of the 4, scenario 4 is really the best. That's the gold standard. And that's why we're bringing that forward. And it's really that creation that of that 3rd minority majority district that of the original 3, the 4th we felt was the superior option. So that's why we're bringing that forth as our recommendation.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, board, any other comments?
I was just wondering if you could share how these maps could, or even if they would affect our students and families. Because I know that was a worry.
Thank you, Board Member Koo. So in many cases, these 2 processes, school attendance boundaries versus trustee area boundaries, those are 2 completely different things. The adoption of these maps have 0 to do with school attendance. School attendance is derived by this board gets to determine how the school boundaries are drawn. We will be going through that process as a result of the school consolidation process, but there are 2 distinctly different processes, and they are 2 distinctly different things. That one impacts families, which is school attendance, and trustee areas, which do not affect school attendance. And we will be bringing that information back, and we'll make sure to communicate to families to clarify that there are 2 separate processes for folks.
Thank you.
Dr. Emerson, will you explain to us and to the public how is this going to work? How did that map is going to work now? If it is approved, whichever map that we will approve, how is that going to impact the community or the process of elections now?
Yeah, I actually would kick that back over to Paul to talk about kind of the next steps of the approval, and then obviously I can talk more specifically about election in November. But Paul, timeline, next steps?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of next steps, should the board adopt a map tonight, then it will go to what's called the Los Angeles County Committee on School District Organization. I know that's a mouthful, but that's basically a statutory process where it goes to them for approval. And then based on the recommendation, what the district's wants and desires are, they take that into consideration. And then the county committee will vote on whether or not to approve both the method of election, so moving from at-large to by trustee area, as well as the trustee areas themselves that the board's recommending to the school district organization committee. So that happens. Dr. Emerson, maybe you'll tell me specifics. I apologize in terms of their next meeting, the county committee, but that should happen within the next 4 to 5 weeks. And that'll be another hearing within Duarte's boundaries that they come and make that decision. So from there, the new process that we have in California as of January 1st is that based on the resolution that's being taken forward, we don't have to seek a waiver for putting the question to the community about whether or not to transition, that the county committee can make that decision rather than the state California Department of Education. So from there, after the county committee's approval, then goes to the registrar of voters for implementation. And then they'll take all of the boundary lines and determine based on their system, how to implement the actual trustee areas themselves. And then what we're also recommending based on the scenario is that trustee areas 4 and 5, those would be at the next election in 2022, November 2022. So based on the timelines and what the registrar needs in terms of information, we'll be able to meet those timelines for implementation in November 2022. So what that means is those folks in trustee areas 4 and 5 will be able to vote and potentially elect a candidate who resides within those trustee areas 4 and 5. And then at the next election in November 2024, the remaining trustee areas 1, 2, and 3 will be up for election. So at any given time, much like what goes on now, every election, there's either 2 or 3 board members who are up for election.
So the colors, if nobody knows, the 4 and 5 would be the kind of lavender and the blue. Those 2 are the colors on the map.
You're exactly right. So
Okay.
4 and 5, which is in the southwest corner of the district.
So if they look at the map, they can see the 2 that might be up for election would be the 2022 election. I was going to ask you the question of, we're not the only school in the district to do this. So again, is it just happening just with us or other areas in the surrounding area or all over California?
That's a great question. And it's happening everywhere, both on a localized level within San Gabriel Valley, out to the county, out to California. And it's not just school districts, it's, cities, it's special districts like sanitation districts, community service districts, school districts. It's all, any and all local government. And so that's why I believe that the city of Duarte is currently in the process as well. And so in terms of school districts, in terms of the numbers and percentages, based on just my own experience, it seems that 50% or more of districts have either already transitioned or in the process of transitioning. And a lot of districts were waiting for this census to come out, the 2020 census data. So there's a fair number of school districts up and down the 210 and up and down the 605 and in San Gabriel Valley who are making this transition.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comment? Paul, I do have a question. Even though that number, number 4 and number 5 are up for election, if we approve, and on 2022, whoever is elected in that area is not representing just that area, it still represents the entire district, right?
That's a great point, and you're exactly right. So the members of that particular area vote on a candidate who resides in that area, but that candidate represents the entire school district. So all schools are part of their interest, anything and everything that the entire school district does. That's who those candidates are fighting for and representing. And this is strictly really just a where that person resides and who's residing in that trustee area. But you're exactly right.
Thank you, Paul. I don't see, Ariana, do you have any comment or question on this? No? Okay, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, Madam President,
Yes, sir.
just to reiterate what Paul just stated, it is superintendent and staff and council's recommendation that the board adopt map scenario number 4.
Okay, board, I need a motion to approve a trustee area map number 4 to be used in the 2022 school board election and subsequently elections. I need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Mr. Bell, second by Mrs. Koo. Oh, me. Oh, Carol. Okay, I'm sorry. Any more discussion? None?
Sorry, just really quick, that correction, was that made to the document?
Yes, I'm going to read that into the record.
perfect.
That's
Okay.
the next item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Finley. I think at this time, I will call for names instead of yes, I. Okay, Ariana.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Mrs. Carroll,
Yes.
Dr. Finley,
Yes.
Mrs. Koo,
Yes.
and Reina Diaz. Yes, thank you. The motion is passed. We now motion to item 12.5, resolution 12-2122, recommending that the LA County Committee of the School District Organization approve and establish trustee areas from which the Duarte Unified School District trustees will be elected in by trustees area election process. May I have a motion?
Madam President,
Go ahead.
prior to taking any motions, let me just read just for the record really quickly. Staff did recognize and notice that there was a typographical error that was on the resolution as it was originally posted for the community's review. That has been corrected, but just for the purposes of making sure that we're all on the same page, there was an error on the, I believe it was the second page of the resolution, and it actually just misstated. It's page number 2, item number 4. It says that it inadvertently said that trustee areas 1, 2, and 3 would be up for election in November 2020, when actually it will be 2024. That was corrected on the agenda online for everybody, but I just wanted to make sure in case anybody looked at the agenda yesterday, they would have seen a typographical error, but it has been corrected and can be approved by the board in its current form. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Emerson. So with that, a correction, I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the this
Resolution.
particular and the process, and that's been corrected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Second.
Second by Dr. Finley.
Madam President,
Yes.
just to clarify, so it would be to approve the resolution as presented. It is correct now
Correct.
for everybody to review. So I just want to say it can be as presented.
Okay, perfect. Then, should I reword again or just go ahead? Okay, it is approved by Mr. Bell and second by Dr. Finley that we approve the recommendation, recommended that the LA County Committee of School District Organization approve and establish trustee areas from which the DUSD trustees will be elected in a by trustee area election process. And it has been moved in second. Any other comments? Okay, I will ask again by names. Ariana,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Mrs. Carroll,
Yes.
Dr. Finley,
Yes.
Mrs. Koo,
Yes.
and Reina Diaz, yes. Moving to item 13. 13.1, permanently discontinue standardized dress code uniform requirement for students in TK 5+6 grade Valley View.
So
Okay.
move.
Moved by Mr. Bell. Second by Mrs. Carroll. Any discussion? I just want to mention, like Mr. Bell mentioned before, being part of the implementation of uniform about 18 years ago. I just want to mention that Dr. Finley's grandfather was a member of Mr. Ferguson was on the board when we made that decision. So it is very interesting to see, that relationship and to see that Mr. Bell and I were part of something that we thought it was good at that time, and being part of tonight's decision that it's time to change and move forward. So it is good. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 13.2, I just want to make sure that you know that item 13.2 is just to receive for information. And that was.
Madam
go
President,
ahead.
can you just read the item into the
Yes,
record? for me?
sir. That 13.2, public viewing of curriculum for grade 7 and grade 8 and grade 9, I'm sorry, secondary comprehensive sexual health and HIV prevention. It is just to receive for information.
Thank you.
I was going to say too, as a parent, I mean, if you want to view this, I as a parent have done it in the past. So I know maybe I'm the only one or two parents, but I have done it. So it's always good to know what's going on in your district. And all I
Thank you,
have to say.
Mrs. Carroll. Moving to business and finances, 14.1, resolution 1121-22, developer fees annual report for fiscal year 2020-21.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Bell, second. Come on.
Second.
I'm gonna take Mrs. Koo, okay? Any discussion?
Yes, Madam President.
Okay, sir.
So Dr. Emerson or someone from your team, if you could tell us a little bit about these developer fees, they went up considerably this year, which is a good thing. I mean, that brings money into the district, but if you could maybe speak a little bit or someone from your team about what can be done with this money, what limitations or lack of limitations exist with its expenditure.
Yeah, I'll start and then I'll kick it over to Ms. Bell. So we have seen quite a substantial uptick in the amount of developer fees received. As you see, there's large construction projects that are happening, large development projects that are going on across the district. And so that is a good thing. We'll obviously always take the funds, but I think above and beyond the funds, I think that what's really important is when you are receiving developer fees, it means that there's development and progress that's happening within the city. And in that regard, one thing that we are going to provide to the board, and working with Ms. Bell and her team on this already, is to provide an actual expenditure report of everything that we've actually spent. Because you see the total on the report that we passed through the resolution. We'll provide an actual expenditure report to the board in our weekly update. And I just want to check in with Ms. Bell. Anything you want to add to that?
Yes, Ms. Dr. Finley wanted to know the types of expenditures used for the developer fees. So there's just.
There you
I feel like I'm a DJ. She said I was Beyonce. So the types of expenditures in the use of developer fees are new construction and reconstruction, modernization, regular maintenance and routine repair, asbestos projects, deferred maintenance, non-facility costs, then costs associated with actually conducting the studies, and costs associated with actually conducting the meetings for the developers. So what we can't use it for is regular maintenance. And so we haven't done that. So my team is now providing you with an expenditure report, and we should have that for you in the board update for next week.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other question or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Item 14.2, change in year 2022, I'm sorry, federal mileage rate.
What is it now?
It was 50 something, it is gonna go up to 58.5 cents per mile. And that's just to receive for information. We now move to non-item agendas, item in the, wow, not agendized item by the board members, student board members and superintendents. Mr. Bell.
Real quick, I would just like to give a shout out to all of the COVID things that you all are in charge of here in our school district. Sometimes I think we kind of take it for granted because, we've had such great relationships with different areas around here, and you superintendents and assistant superintendents have been super, and other administrators working in there. And I want to say thank you very much for keeping Duarte as safe and sound as you have. I have 3 grandchildren in other school districts that have COVID. And it's because maybe they don't have quite the things that you guys have done for our students. And I want to just say thank you. I don't take it for granted that things that happen here, I don't take it for granted, but I have a daughter, because her daughter brought home the COVID from her school. So again, I want to say thank you for all of the things that you all do to keep us safe as you can, and it's not overlooked. We appreciate it. We absolutely appreciate it. Also, I wanted to add, we have 21 Japanese students. They came in and they're at the CS Arts. So we have a partnership in their CS Arts, doing very, very well. I had a chance to see them come, meet the visiting parents that they will have here. And I think that I've been very impressed with the principal at CS Arts. He's quite a gentleman, and our cooperation with him is going to be something really fantastic as time goes on. But we have 21 students here, and looking forward to them. They energize and what have you. So really appreciate the way that Teresa Barnes has gotten a whole lot of cooperation with some parents, and we have some young people that's going to be here enjoying our culture. And I want to say thank you for Kevin Morris. He's one of our coordinators of the program. And so again, thank you very much for everyone cooperating. I think it's going to be a good experience for all of us. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Your mic, Madam President. Your microphone.
Thank you. Mrs. Carroll.
Really quick too. Again, Mr. Bell echoed everything I was pretty much going to say about the COVID response here in our district, and how hard and tirelessly, I guess, everybody's been working on this, making sure our kids and our staff and teachers are safe here, and how readily accessible our testing is in our district with our community itself. It's not just our students, our staff, but the community around us can get tested at the school sites, which has made it. I've had several friends already who have used that resource already. So it's just tirelessly, this is no easy task that everybody has done. It's been it's always changing, ever changing. So it's just keeping up with it. And I think that everybody's done such a wonderful job anyways. And I think the same as Ken. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carroll. Mrs. Koo?
Okay, usually Jane goes next. Clear me off. I'm gonna kind of switch it. And I think what it was really amazing to hear was when Ariana was giving her report, I think just all the school activities that we're allowed to have. And I think that's because of all of the COVID safety protocols and how serious our students, our staff, and our families take it to ensure that our students have these types of experiences. So echoing everything that both of you have just said, but I think it's just, I wanted us to take a moment to say thank you for everything so that our students can have a prom, and they're about to reveal their theme tomorrow. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Koo. Dr. Finley.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, these are exciting times. I remember being a senior at Duarte High School and being very excited about what we were doing for prom, and were they going to have a tuxedo that fit me and all those things. But it's this is an exciting time of year for students, and And I too am heartened to hear about the success that the district is having. Obviously, all over LA County, cases have been on the rise, and are beginning to fall, thankfully. But I would just say to everyone who is here and everybody that may be watching this on the recording afterwards, utilize the resources that we have to get tested here. I think that sometimes we forget how lucky we are to have all of the testing available within our district. Every single school site every week has testing available free of charge, and that's a privilege that many other places do not enjoy. And so I would just recommend and encourage everyone to take advantage of that, because it's a privilege, and we're lucky to have staff in this district that has been working tirelessly to make sure that we have this available to us, and it keeps everybody safer, right? I mean, if people are getting tested regularly, then we can pick up on cases more quickly and go through the procedures that are recommended by health professionals. So we're lucky. So please take advantage of that. It's sort of like, I am certainly guilty of this. Whenever we have friends or family come in from out of town to visit, they say, "Oh, what should we do while we're here in LA?" And I think, I don't know. I just go to work. I don't know. You kind of forget that you've got Disneyland and beaches and Mount Baldy and Hollywood. I just kind of forget about those things because they're all just right here. And so I hope that we don't do that with the testing, because it's something that's available to us and it's close by. So anyway, so I want to express my appreciation for our district for doing that. And then last thing, I just wanted to report back on a chance that I had to receive some emails from some students, interestingly enough, from Japan. These were some students that I gave a presentation to, along with students at Doherty High School, about some of the stuff that I do at City of Hope, and some other researchers also gave presentations, and this was last month, and the students in Japan wrote really nice thank you letters to us, and it was really great to see that. And I'll also point out that the Doherty High School students also wrote nice thank you notes. But it was just fun to see this cross continental collaboration that goes on between these two schools, and you could really tell that these students, despite language barriers and cultural barriers and everything, the language of science, it was shining very brightly and was understood by both parties, and it was a great learning experience for everyone involved, and it was just a privilege to be able to talk to all those students and to really open their eyes to what's possible, not only just here in Doherty, but also all over the world. So I hope that we can continue to have these collaborations. I know we had a presentation last board meeting, or maybe the one before, with some work down in Central America as well. So Doherty really does expand its reach pretty far for the size district that we are, and I think that's really commendable. So I hope that continues in the future, and I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Dr. Finley. Ariana.
So first off, welcome to the new year, 2022. Just off the first meeting, I can see we have a lot of new things coming, a lot of changes, breaking grounds, all of that. Definitely bouncing off what all of you said, I'm very lucky, as well as many other students, to have such important staff members, such well-trained staff members, an amazing board, many people on our campus, just very lucky, and have all the resources that we have. It may be a small district, but I think we do a lot. We have a lot of resources, and like Dr. Finley said, we have our foreign exchange students, especially at all our school sites, Doherty High School. I've met a few of them personally. Some of them I'm now working on the yearbook, and it's crazy. They're like, I have family in Italy, and I'm like, I am here in America working on the yearbook with you. I think that's awesome. Just to say that I worked with someone like that, and they teach me things, I teach them things, and that's just really beautiful, open line of communication that we have there. And definitely a shout out to our ASB and our class presidents who are working so hard, trying to make fun things, because like you said, school can be stressful, and you don't look at all the little things that you have, and some people just go to school and that's their whole job, and they don't say like, oh, I go here, that's all they have, that's the only social time. And I realized that during quarantine, a lot of people would tell me that school is the only social time that they get, and they don't have any other, they don't go anywhere else. So personally, getting to plan events with ASB and getting to work on the yearbook and getting to socialize with different people, it's very, very eye-opening and very nice to have some sort of fun at school. Somebody, being the ASB president, someone walked up to me actually telling me, they were like, you and ASB are the reason that I come to school, the reason that I have fun, and the reason I get a break from all this stress and from all the tests. So that very much warmed my heart to hear that. As well as just, I don't know, presenting our vision and making, like you say, modern students in modern times, and just alone seeing the new, getting rid of the dress code. Off that, I already see that, you do follow through with that, and not looking at the past and the way we used to run things, but looking at how our students can express ourselves now, just off fashion alone is very, very helpful and very eye-opening to see. And I'm very proud to be on this board and making those decisions as well. So thank you to the board for always keeping that open line of communication. Thank you to Ms. Hillman for making sure that everyone has a voice, especially on the community, especially hearing from them, because that's how you make your decisions and how you should be making your decisions. So thank you for that. It's very, very important to hear. So that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Ariana, I like to ask you one thing that you can share from CSBA experience. Something that you will carry to your life, in your life, that it is an experience that I will say few in a millions have that experience. But like we say, we are a small district, but I believe that Dr. Finley is the first student that we have as a board member, and I see you in the future being a board member, probably not in the city, in this community, not on this district, but somewhere. But I just want to see if you can share just one thing that you can share from CSBA.
So one thing, I have a few, but so definitely last year I also went to, it was a lot different since it was online, but being such a social person that I am, getting to be there in person and, meeting different people. I would definitely say that something that I would take probably with me forever was those connections that I made, and getting to finally find people that understand me, finally finding people that have the same passion in their eyes that I do about things, and getting to communicate that and getting to learn their own perspectives, because I'm a big person on perspective. So getting to learn other people's perspective about how they feel about their district, how they feel about just life in general was very, very helpful. And it made me learn new things, and made me open my eyes on certain things, and coming back from that definitely changed my perspective about how I see myself as a board member, and how I can be more accessible to my students. And something that I also found was I'm a board member from a very small district, and a lot of people that I met had very big districts. They were speaking for 10 schools, 15 schools. And I found that how would they have good connections with their students if they're going to such a big range? And personally, I'm very, very, very involved in my school, and I know people by names, and they come to me saying like, "Hey, maybe you should talk about this." So having that open line of communication with people that I actually know is so amazing, and it makes my job feel so much more important because I actually get to hear face to face what they want from me, what they want in their schools.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember listening. I think it was in one of the general sessions that students stay until 4 o'clock in the morning on a board meeting, 3 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning. And they feel so disappointed that they were not like even part of the meeting. And that's what I think that it makes this really a good experience for the board, student board member. You are part of the discussion, you are part of the board. So thank you for making the time to go to that CSBA conference. With that, it is my turn. I just would like to share that last week, we did not have a board meeting, not because we were afraid of COVID, but we had a lot of challenges to have that board meeting on the day that was scheduled. I did receive a couple of comments saying that why do we send the students to school and why we don't want to come to the board meetings. But it was a lot that we went through to be able to make possible to be ready for this board meeting. So beside that, I like to say thank you to the parents that are here tonight that want to know what's going on. And before you leave, make sure that if you have any questions right after the board meeting, you can come forward and ask to any of the board members or any of our cabinet here to please don't leave with questions. So with that, Dr. Emerson.
I think the only other thing I'll say for this evening, because I think that there's been a really great discussion and great insights by our board members from all the way down the dais. I just continue to be inspired by Ariana and her perspectives and the value that she adds to the discussion and the dialogue. And what I particularly was impressed by is what she said, which was that being around other like-minded people helped me to have a new perspective, a different perspective, and really then energized her. It's no different than the professional development, professional collaboration that I'm able to take part of as a superintendent, or that my staff is able to take part of as assistant superintendents. Discussion, dialogue, collaboration is how we get better. It's how we learn. It's how we actually grow. And so I was just reminded by that. So Ariana, thank you for planting that seed back in my head, because I think it's always important for us to find ways to be around like-minded people that help us grow and help us get better. And that's, iron sharpens iron, right? And so the more that we're able to do that, I think the better that we'll be. So thank you for that reminder. And thank you, board, for your work this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Emerson. I also like to send my gratitude to Mercedes for coordinate the entire CSBA for us. It is a lot of work. I know it takes a lot of your time to put together, 8 people, 5 people. When I have to coordinate something just for Ruben and it takes me a lot of time. I don't know how you do it with all of us, but it was very worth it to go to every single session. And it was really, really a great experience for all of us. With that, I like to adjourn. I like to ask for a motion to adjourn in memory of Gabriela Dueñas, Debbie Vincent, and Clarice Clark. And I need the motion.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Bell, second.
Second.
Second by Dr. Finley. Mercedes, this is Debbie Vincent, the one who was very active with us a long time ago, or? She was a teacher in Northview. Okay, I know, okay. Wow, okay. Any other comments or discussion? No, okay, I will. Did I ask this by name or all in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned in memory of these people that we will be missing. We will really miss it. Thank you. Good night. Les recuerdo a los papás que por favor si tienen preguntas las hagan.